Hello and welcome to Fulhamish Full-Time live after a performance that was not particularly pretty, a game that wasn't one for the neutral, but a crucial 3 points for Scott Parker's boys. Nonetheless, my name is Jack Collins, I'll be your host, and joining me, Miss Lydia Campbell.
Hello.
Hey, Lids. Mr. Ben Jarman.
Yes, Prince. How are you,
happening?
mate?
I'm okay. This was that was stressful. It wasn't actually very fun. I was thinking about it halfway through. If you were a neutral watching that, and Sammy tweeted something to this effect, you were a neutral watching that and you managed the whole 90 minutes, fair play to you, because that was pretty diabolical, but sweet for Scott and the boys, Lids.
Yeah, massive. And yeah, I completely agree with that. It was pretty dull. But you know, we got the 3 points that we have badly needed for quite a while. Not a fun watch. 7 minutes of injury time, which nearly pushed me over the edge. But we got there. 3 points, and now 3 points off safety.
Why was there 7 minutes, Ben? And I genuinely was like looking there going, where have these come from? I appreciate there was that, break beforehand from the Areola Bogle challenge, but geez.
Mate, your answer is as good as mine. It's not like we took our sweet time with the substitutions either, did we? They were pretty much on and off. I mean, there were six each side, which is 3 minutes of added time. Like, where's the other 4 minutes come from? I have no idea.
Absolutely no clue whatsoever. But I mean, job done. And I suppose we should probably talk about the goal. What a ball that is from Joachim Andersen, Liz. What a ball.
Yeah, and do you know what? They picked this up in the commentary actually about halfway through the first half. That Andersen actually has he's really good vision. So I just ignore my grey hound behind me. He's obviously very excited. Yeah, he has a really good range of passing for a centre back. Now I wasn't quite expecting something like that from him. But it happened. Lookman thankfully was the man on the end of it. And yeah, what a finish straight through Ramsdale's legs. There was absolutely nothing he could do about it.
Yeah, hints of luck there with the little bounce of the ball, Ben. But you take them here, and especially I think we probably on the whole edged the game. I thought,
mate, you take any goal when you're in a situation that we are as they come, like regardless of if they're lucky or if they're a worldie. And yeah, it's exactly what we needed, regardless of if the play was or the game was not good. The 3 points that we absolutely needed in that one moment of quality. And as Lid says, I love Joachim Andersen's range of passing. I think his ability to find a ball is probably second to none in terms of centre backs we've had. Tosin is a good pass, but he's nothing on it.
We lost you a little bit there, Ben, but I'm gonna roll onwards. There was you take the 7 from 9, Lids, and we look at where it's come from, all these points, and we've played 2 tough games there, Burnley and Sheffield United. Yes, teams around us, but also physical contests that we matched up to, and that's got to be worth something.
Yeah, I think the frustrating thing for me on Wednesday night, for example, was that I felt that was a game we badly needed to win. I think we've lost Ben there, but we'll see if we can get him back. I think I was very frustrated on Wednesday night, but I suppose when you look at it as a whole, Everton 3 points, 1 point away to Turf Moor that were historically very bad at, and then 3 points here today. So I think I have to look at it and go, well, actually, that's a massive 7 points. Might be disappointing that the Burnley result, but in terms of the season, 7 points in 3 games is a massive achievement for us.
Yeah, I mean that's it. And Ben, you look at this in the wider context of the season, and those 7 points are just, look at the league table now, 3 points behind Newcastle. It's just such a lift to be within touching distance. And we talked actually a couple of weeks back on the podcast about the fact that sometimes it's as much about the mental capacity of seeing Fulham, just off play. Newcastle are in touching distance. It's all well and good, as Sammy said, having games in hand, games that you might be able to win, a nicer schedule, etc., etc. But actually, when you sit there and you are 3 points off, then that gives everybody hope because it feels like a tangible thing you're reaching for.
Putting points on the board is the most important thing in any situation. I think a lot of this squad or some of the squad will remember that those few years ago when we were, sort of 6 or 7 points off the playoffs with only a few games left to go. in one of our playoff seasons. And, when you get within touching distance and you hit that glass ceiling, eventually you'll end up breaking through it. And I think that's what will happen with Fulham, hopefully, over the next couple of games. Obviously, we've got a game against Palace that we can feasibly get a result out of. City's going to be very difficult to get anything out of, but Liverpool, judging by their form, we could get a point, maybe 3.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I think let's move back into today. Ruben Loftus-Cheek tonight, I thought was good, especially second half. Lids, he's frustrating, incredibly frustrating at points because of the way that he's flat-footed in the box. Yeah, especially that chance that comes to him right at the end. You just want him to be on his toes and hammer it. But actually, in general tonight, I thought he was really good. He was strong. He was strong in the tackle. He drove with the ball. He linked up play nicely. It was one of his better performances.
Yeah, I would say it was one of his better performances. He's still not, for me, achieving what he should be achieving. And I think tonight he was in that number 10 role. He doesn't really have the same excuse as he had at the beginning of his time at Fulham, when he was being shunted out wide and not really being able to make a difference. I think it's quite telling in that, I think quite early in the first half he had a really good chance. It was from outside the box, but he had a really good opportunity that I would have thought, shoot, man. And he didn't. He passed it. And then about 10 minutes later, when he was in the complete wrong position to shoot, he shot. And you're like, what? So it's decision-making for someone like Ruben. I think he's clearly one of Parker's little projects. We want to think of it like that. That he nearly refuses to take him off the pitch when he's maybe not having a good game. But I think sometimes we are we're very focused on like goals, or so when a player isn't delivering in that respect, then we're I'm definitely guilty of it, of jumping on him and saying, he's not good enough. But I do think with Ruben Loftus-Cheek, it's a matter of confidence and his decision making. I think he worked very hard tonight, covered a lot of ground. Just needs to kind of sort himself out when it comes to kind of those final ball decisions.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. And I mean, another player who there's a lot of shouts in the comments here for Areola as man of the match. Brilliant, tonight. But there is a question here from Aljat who says, was there a pen in there? I was very worried seeing the replay. Now, I don't think it is because he wins the ball first, but there is a statement, and I've been reading Blades Analytic on Twitter, Jay Sosik, who's going absolutely mad to say the follow through is so high that anywhere else on the pitch that gets given as a foul. And he probably does have a slight point in terms of it's not great, but how much of that is facilitated by the fact there's a goalkeeper stretching and a last ditch blocks.
Yeah, I think to be honest with you, he gets the ball first very, very clearly. I think there's probably maybe a couple of milliseconds between the two, but I don't think it's a penalty. But knowing how VAR have been over this past year and knowing what reputation they have, honestly wouldn't have been surprised to see that given. And it would have been an absolute gut punch to Fulham had it been given. To work as hard as we did, to score that goal in the fashion that we did, and then to throw it away with almost 2 or 3 minutes left, that could have been a pivotal curtains moment for us. So we have been saved there, but I think common sense has overruled the decision. I also want to give a quick shout out to JDM in the chat, who has said that Ola Aina has played 3 different positions this week, 2 clean sheets, a goal and an assist in great form. And I think that actually Ola goes quite under the radar quite a lot for his form and his contribution to Fulham. And I think this week has probably been his best week in the white shirt. I thought he was stunning at left back against Everton. A little bit touch and go against Burnley, but I think that was a whole team front. And then again, in 2 positions today, looked rock solid and had some really good impetus for us.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to come on to it, Aina, because he is that kind of versatile. I always called Bobby Reed the Fulham Swiss Army knife in an attacking sense. I think we found another one in Ola Aina who seems to be able to fill in anywhere. And I was kind of interested to see when Kenny Tete came on, if he was going to move into midfield, Lids, but it felt like pure Parker ball. We reverted to the 5, we saw it out. And you know what? There's part of me that hates it in terms of the way that Fulham invite pressure in the final minutes, but it's been working for quite a while now. It seems hard to not be able to justify it.
Yeah, I mean, I felt quite I was probably as uneasy as anyone was whenever all of a sudden we reverted from our four at the back, which has been working recently. I'm laughing at Maximus Timberlake here with Parker Ball as pure genius, because genius or madness, I'm not really sure. But
there's a thin line. There's a thin line.
Exactly. Tonight we managed to kind of get it worked tonight at the end. I wouldn't suggest that we do that against a better team. I wouldn't. I think maybe Sheffield United, bottom of the league, are probably even worse at scoring goals than we are. So probably that was the game to kind of get you can get away with it, but I wouldn't recommend it going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Good question here from Paul, who says, Ben, taking nothing away from the team, but should be worried that Madji was marked out of the game for the second game in a row, not got a sniff. It's hard to kind of lay it at his door to say that he didn't do much when there was no service to him, but there is a point to be made that we're starting to see him disappear in games, whether that frees up space for other people to exploit. In this case, Ademola Lookman, and actually Ruben Loftus-Cheek probably as well. He kept the players, kept the Sheffield United back line occupied, kept them deep, allowed that space in front of them to kind of open up. But there is something that he really didn't get a sniff in the box.
Yeah, he had a total of 4 touches in the first half, which for a focal point striker in a game that you should be aiming to win is definitely not enough. But I think you have to look at his contribution outside of just scoring goals and getting touches, as you say, Jack. He keeps the line quite deep. He allows space for other players, and I think you're starting to see now that players in and around him are going to start to benefit from having that added space and time on the ball. I think there's obviously 2 defining factors between him and Mitrovic. Firstly is going to be the pace, and secondly that is going to be a threat in behind. And Mitrovic isn't going to turn you and get in behind, but Josh Maja is. I guess it is a little bit sad to see him get obviously a severe, almost a decline in quality of service over the last 2 games since that Everton display. But we came up against a Burnley team that really started to press us high in midfield and in defence, and therefore we struggled to get out of our own half. But then we played against a Sheffield United team who almost had a 2 flat banks of 4 on the edge of their own penalty area, and it's very difficult to try and give your striker service when they're crowded out that much. You should be, in my opinion, playing it wide and trying to drag that sort of 4 outwards and look for space there.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. There's a lot going on. Actually, someone who's been getting a little bit of love from Maximus Timberlake lids is Ivan Cavaleiro, who played on the wing. And this is a point. On the wing, he does look a bit like a different player. He's able to take on a man. He's not brilliant, but he was good in the first half today. And I thought that he probably deserves some praise.
Yeah, I think the thing with Cav is that it was never going to work as the guy in the middle who needed to be the focal point. He's not a player and he's not good enough at it. But put him out wide with the likes of Maja in the middle, Ruben Loftus-Cheek a little bit further back, then all of a sudden he has space to work with, and Cav loves having space. When we think of some of the goals he scored in the Championship last year, he was out wide, cutting in, and then curling one into the top corner. That's the kind of player he is. So don't put him in the middle and expect him to do the Mitrovic role, because he's never going to be able to do that. So yeah, I would say I think there was a couple of times I think he maybe was too keen to shoot. There was one time in the first half in particular, probably should have pulled the ball low across the penalty area with Lookman and Maja in there. But he decided to shoot from a ridiculous angle. If he had scored, it would have been an absolute stunner, but he didn't. So yeah, I would say he definitely deserves a bit of praise. And I think maybe playing a little bit out to the wide definitely suits him.
Yeah. I mean, before we go, we've got Tony English in the comments, Ben, who's a Newcastle fan. He says, we've known for a while we're going down. He's also stated that he doesn't think that Newcastle are going to get another point, which is maybe a little bit extreme. But I mean, I think this is a tale of 2 fan bases in very different spirits, right? This is a Fulham fan base buoyant, and I think you can take this onto the teams as well, buoyant and looking upwards, and a Newcastle fan base kind of down flat and looking over their shoulders. And Bruce and Ashley have a lot to answer for in terms of where that club is and what it's become. But I think that there's something, from a kind of selfish Fulham perspective, we have to look at that as our advantage going into the rest of this season. That this is kind of a flat place at the moment that we need to try and exploit.
Yeah, I mean, it's very, very easy for us to take solace in someone else's sadness, I think. And I think that could be what a lot of our fan base are doing in regards to Newcastle. But the long and short of it is we have to keep on and we have to keep plugging away to get results. And I said this with Dominic Betts on Full-Time on whenever we played Burnley, which I think was Wednesday now. All the days are merging into one because they all are basically the same. And I said to him, we are going to need at least 4 more wins, even if we win against Sheffield United, to even stay in with a chance. Because I think this year, the way that teams have fluctuated in their form is I think that we're going to have 35, maybe 36 points to stay up. And, I know Tony said he can't see Newcastle getting another point, but there are some pretty dreadful teams down the bottom that you could feasibly get a draw with, and some off colour. You might get a team that comes off colour. So using a Scott Parkerism, every game is important. You can only beat what's in front of you. So let's hope we carry on and doing exactly that through the rest of the season.
Yeah, Lids, finally, Scott Parker's reaction at the final whistle was one of a man who deeply, deeply cares about this club, and I think no one ever really doubted that. That's not been up for discussion. But it did feel, as Giorgio says here, that he fully believes in this project. He has 100% faith that this team is good enough to stay up, and that means a lot.
Yeah, it absolutely does. And you see the difference between what Scott Parker says and quite often what Sam Allardyce has been saying that this year. Quite often, I remember when Allardyce first came into West Brom, he was saying about how he was surprised of basically how bad the team was. I remember after the first match, and you're sort of thinking like, as a player, that must be horrendous, that that actually, if you are going to stay up, everything is going to have to go for you. Whereas I feel like with us under Parker, there is an element of control here, because I do believe that we're good enough. I do believe that we have the right players in the right positions. I do feel that we still need things to go for us, of course, but we seem to have a manager who's fully backing us and not saying things like, well, we're going to need 9 clean sheets in order to stay up, because we're constantly conceding goals or things like that. He's constantly concentrating on the positive parts of this Fulham team, and I would imagine that as a player, that's the kind of manager I would want to play for.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think there's just one more. I think a really good comment from Maximus in the comments is that he said that we've nearly got a third of our total points in just 1 week of this season, which I think is basically it underlines how much Scott is beginning to turn this ship around, and how Fulham are, I guess, getting closer to tipping over the edge to convert more into wins. I'm also really laughing at England Cricket Fans channel, who said, "Oh, mad Scottish Fulham fan."
I mean, I assume it's not about you, Lids. But
It must be.
I'm gonna give England Cricket Fan channel the benefit of the doubt, because he said that just found this channel, it's class, and I completely agree. So I suppose with that said, we should probably call this a day. A brilliant win for Fulham, and just as Scott says, keep plugging. We keep plugging. We keep inching closer to Newcastle. And right now, that's all we can do. Well, there's definitely to do. Say thank you very much to Lydia Campbell.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you very much to Ben Jarman.
Thanks, Jack. Thanks, Lids.
I've been Jack Collins. This has been Fulhamish Full-Time live after a very, very important win for Fulham over Sheffield United. Thanks for watching as ever, and enjoy the rest of your weekends. Peace.